I have studied this my entire life. And when Donald
Trump... What are they going through now? This is our moment not to let this happen again.
Then call out anyone who does it. And when Donald Trump says Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian,
I'm calling out on this couch today,
Jew,
the topic that we're on too is in your party.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. So glad you pulled up for this one because it is a heated one. Today we are dropping into a panel that absolutely boils over, where Democratic strategist Marie goes head-to-head with Kayleigh and the rest of the couch over one of the most sensitive fault lines in politics right now. The spark is a string of primary upsets in New York, and the fight quickly explodes into a bigger question. Where does honest criticism of a foreign government end and real bigotry begin? And who is allowed to draw that line? Marie is outnumbered, but trust me, she does not back down for a single second. You are going to want to stick around for the back half because the exchange keeps climbing and the sharpest moment lands right when you least expect it. And do me a quick favor while you settle in, drop a comment and let me know what city or country you are watching from. I genuinely love seeing how far this community reaches. All right.
Marie, let's start with you. I knew that was coming. I could sense you turning.
Yeah, do you agree with this premise? Does it frighten you? Are there concerns emanating throughout the Democratic Party of what the anti-Semitism, how it has been fomented or has appearing?
Well, look, I have lots of thoughts on this. First, I would say what we are seeing across the country is an anti-incumbency, anti-establishment movement that people, in both parties are like, we want you out, we want new leaders. On this issue, look, when it comes to Dan Goldman, he was beat by a fellow Jewish politician, Brad Lander, who calls himself a liberal Zionist. He doesn't support Israel killing civilians in Gaza. He doesn't support what the Israeli government is doing in the West Bank. But for Dan Goldman to say that is anti-Semitism, look, we are all opposed to anti-Semitism. I've worked on this issue for a long time, and we need to call it out when it is there. And there are some Democratic candidates who I think are there, and I really do not want to be part of my party and do not support. But someone like Brad Lander, we have to have room in this country to oppose the Netanyahu administration in Israel, to say that Israeli policy is not good without all being called anti-Semites. And to say that Brad Lander, who is Jewish, who got a lot of the Jewish community to support him in ousting Dan Goldman, is somehow anti-Israel and anti-Semitic, that is a cheap shot. And quite frankly, it weakens the argument when we do call out actual anti-Semitism, of which there is a lot on the right.
Goldman had his money refunded at a coffee shop. My gosh.
Are you
you're talking about Brad Lander? He's calling out anti-Semitism because he was a victim of it 48 hours ago. And that should be the focus right now. Chevalier, okay, you want to talk about Brad Lander? Let's talk about Chevalier, who after babies were put in ovens on October 7th, the day after, she attended a pro-Palestine rally where there were speakers who attempted to justify October 7th.
And I obviously don't support that, Kayleigh.
Claire Valdez, when they put Goldman on the screen at the victory party, her victory party, the crowd was chanting F AIPAC. You need to reckon with this part of your party. I'm going to quote Sarah Foreman, a Democratic strategist. She said, this is the version of the Democrats that the voting population of New York wants. We need to stop pretending it is not the case. These are socialists, in most cases, anti-Semites. 66% of your party wants socialism.
Why did so many Jews vote for them if they're all anti-Semites?
In all due respect, because I love you and you're a smart political person in mind. But if you think we were talking off air about John Ossoff that you think could win a Democratic primary.
Absolutely.
No way, no how. You're looking at an AOC winning a Democratic primary. Socialism is the way forward for your party. 66% of Democrats say it. And until you reckon with it, we're having a socialism takeover of a party that represents half the country.
Here's the challenge with Israel. I have never seen in my political career of 20 years any issue on the right and the left crater in public support over the last several years as much as support for Israel. And that is not because they're all anti-Semites. There are some, and we need to call them out. And I agree with you, Kayleigh. But a lot of that is because of what the Netanyahu government is doing. And look, yes, these candidates win in New York. These Democratic Socialists win in New York. That's not who Democrats are running in swing states. John Ossoff bridges the parts of the party, moderates, progressives, including on Israel.
Netanyahu didn't refund a man's money at a coffee shop.
This is the part too many people scroll right past, and it drives me up the wall. Because the whole trap being set here is simple. Label anyone who criticizes a foreign government as a bigot, and suddenly you never have to defend that government at all. Marie sees it instantly. She points out that the man everyone is crying over lost to another Jewish candidate, someone who openly calls himself a liberal Zionist. Sit with that for a second. The winner is Jewish, the loser is Jewish, and we are supposed to believe the result was anti-Jewish hatred? That math does not add up, and Marie refuses to pretend it does. does. Here is what people don't realize. When Marie calls that a cheap shot, she is actually protecting the real fight against real bigotry. Because if everything is bigotry, then nothing is. You cannot scream the alarm at every single disagreement and still expect people to come running when the building is genuinely on fire. That is exactly what someone who has worked on this issue for years sounds like, and she is the only one on that couch treating it with that kind of care. And then comes the fear button. Kayleigh reaches for the scary word, socialism. 66%, your whole party. You have to understand what that move really is. It is not analysis, it is a headline built to make you stop thinking. Slap one loaded label on millions of frustrated voters and you never have to ask why they are frustrated in the first place. Marie already answered that. People in both parties are tired of the same recycled leaders. That is a country asking for something new, plain and simple.
Can I jump in on the nationwide thing?
I'm just saying that we have to look across the country. Support for Israel is cratering, and for those of us who want Israel to be safe and secure, we need to grapple with why.
Israel and Jewish Americans are not the same thing.
I agree with you.
This is our country, and if you want to press against, a lobbyist, AIPAC, and you want to don't make it commensurate with hating Jews. Your party is in the place of fine. Then rein in the people who are expressing hate.
What about the people on the conservative side expressing hate that have been doing this, that have been talking?
Don't you? We're talking about the
if you call out
the
Democrats, call out Republicans
American
too.
Party.
This is not a Democratic problem.
Let's go nationwide.
Not a Democratic problem.
We don't have anti-Semites, two of whom won a primary just Tuesday night.
Do you know how
Name
many?
for me the two Republican anti-Semites that won a primary.
I could give you a list of 100.
Okay, let's go nationwide. In Maine, an oyster farming Nazi.
That's not
Plagner.
true.
In Michigan, you've got El Sayed, who is Hassan Piker's most famous fan. You've got on this coming Tuesday, out in Denver, Colorado, you have a Congresswoman, an incumbent moderate of sorts, Diana DeGette, who has been there for probably 30 years, running against a 29-year-old Malat Quiros. She has no political experience. She's fired from her New York lawyer job for writing anti-Semitic, anti-Israel stuff. You're seeing this happen all across the country. And the fact that the Democratic Socialists of America, in 2015, they had 6,000 people. Bernie Sanders launches a quasi-socialist campaign. They say, let's hitch our wagon up to this. Even though we're farther to the left, let's see where it takes us. Today, they just had a hat-trick sweep in New York, and they have more than 100,000 members nationwide with their eyes set on taking down Hakeem Jeffries.
Because people know that the system isn't working for them. This is the thing. I don't think a lot of these voters that voted for Democratic Socialists also voted for Donald Trump in 2024. So some of it is about policies. I mean, we can look at the data. It's just the numbers don't lie.
Well, what hinges there is free stuff and affordability.
They want someone who's going to blow up the system. We're talking about hatred.
This is the line that should have ended the whole debate, and it almost slips by as a throwaway. Harris says Israel and Jewish Americans are not the same thing. Read that twice. A country is a government, a set of policies, a group of politicians you are allowed to vote out. A people is a people. Blurring those two on purpose is how you shut down every honest conversation before it even starts. And the second it gets said out loud, the whole framing wobbles. Let me break down why this matters, because there is real history behind it. For generations, people understood you could stand against a government without hating the human beings living under it. The entire world stood against the apartheid government of South Africa for decades, and nobody serious ever called that hatred of South Africans. Opposing a policy has never once been the same as hating a people, and anyone pretending otherwise knows exactly what they are doing. And here's the part that blows my mind. When Marie says this is not a Democratic problem, it is nationwide, she flips the entire script, because the accusation only works if you keep the camera locked in one direction. The moment she offers to name 100 examples on the other side, the one-sided story falls apart. Then a fellow panelist, Griff, actually jumps in and names one. An extremist running up in Maine. That is the tell. If this were really a one-party disease, that name would not exist, but it does. And a real fight against hatred means you do not get to only see it when it is convenient for you.
For Jews in this country, okay? And the press, the physical press against them, the threats against them up more than 400% in just the last few years.
Yes.
We cannot let that cook. This is 1933, by the way, where you've got people who want to go to a business who happen to be Jewish and they're being turned away. I remember, and I don't know if everybody has studied it this much, but that's really when it started. It didn't start with killing Jews. It started with please don't cut me off. Because I'm
going
to require that you know more than what you're saying about what they're going through right now.
I have studied this my entire life. And when Donald Trump...
What are they going through now? This is our moment not to let this happen again.
Then call out anyone who does it. And when Donald Trump says Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian,
I'm calling out on this couch today,
Jew,
the topic that we're on is in your party. And instead of you taking responsibility for that with any kind of idea of how to stop it Goldman even was against Trump. But look what happened to him. It happened because he's Jewish.
No, it didn't. It did not happen because he's Jewish. It happened because he gave a blank check to a right-wing Netanyahu government that is committing genocide in Gaza.
What happened at the cafe happened because he's Jewish. Kamala Harris said Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, didn't get picked on the bottom half of her ticket because he was Jewish.
That is not why.
And she
Don't
said
tell me about my party.
Well, call Kamala.
That's not why Josh Shapiro didn't get picked. I promise you.
Call her. It's in the book. She said it on camera. Call her.
That's not why he didn't get picked. And when Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office... I'm the wrong
Harris. Call her. She's your friend.
When Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office and says Chuck Schumer is a bad Jew and a Palestinian because he doesn't support Bibi, that is classic anti-Semitism. And everyone on the right needs to call that out as much as they're calling out some Democratic Socialist congressional candidate in New York. That's all I'm asking for.
But
that's it.
Can you answer for your own party?
I will answer for it all day.
But you didn't.
I just did for 10 minutes.
Oh, this is the moment the whole thing turns, and you can feel it in the room. Harris reaches all the way back to 1933, painting the most dramatic picture possible, and I understand the emotion under it. Nobody should ever wave away real hatred, ever. But here is what people miss. Dropping the darkest chapter in human history onto a cable panel is not an argument. It is a spotlight aimed carefully away from the one uncomfortable question sitting right there in the room, and Marie will not let that spotlight move. When she says the candidate lost because he handed a blank check to a hardline foreign government, she is doing the one thing nobody else on that couch will touch. She is talking about actions instead of identity. A vote is a choice. A policy is a choice. You are allowed to lose an election over your own choices, and pretending every loss is secretly about someone's religion is an insult to the voters who actually thought it through. Then she lands the punch that should have closed the segment. Here is what people don't realize about the word bigotry. It has an actual definition, and when the single most powerful Republican in the country stands up and calls a Jewish senator a bad Jew for refusing to fall in line, that is the textbook version of it. Not a coffee shop, not a primary result, that. Marie says everyone on the right needs to call it out with the same energy they aim at some young candidate in New York, and the silence sitting inside that answer is deafening. And then the close. They demand, can you answer for your own party? She does not blink. She reminds them she just did, for 10 straight minutes. That is what showing up with receipts looks like, while the other side showed up with a scary word and a history lesson meant to change the subject. That is what winning an argument actually looks like. You do not get louder, you get clearer. And she was crystal clear. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe.